Golly, bro.
We're back.
Full disclosure. Entirely Eli's fault for not being here.
100% my fault.
Fucking guys buying a house, going on vacation, all
right.
sorts of weird shit.
That's right.
And of course, no, I don't know how to work all this stuff. Nor would I do it without you, bro.
New set, new equipment.
Yep. So we've got our little penthouse here downtown. Super cool. We had another spot that we had. It was really cool. It was like the basement of an old bank. We got some cool plans for that. But our buddy who owned that building got a great price for it. They're expanding where that was at, and so he sold that. So we weren't there very long. He got a good price on it, and gave us an opportunity to to just level up into some commercial space that we can use for our events, in addition to private residence that we can use for our podcast and bringing our families down here, or as we have guests that come into the podcast, we got to figure out where the fuck they're gonna sit. We'll figure that out soon. Yeah, man. Ben Newman's coming to town not too long, so him and his family are gonna stay at our penthouse, which is super cool, man. So it's nice to offer this residence to our network, and people are coming to town, and him and I are doing an event together, which is cool. He's the keynote. He's the big deal. I'll be warming the audience.
There you go.
For him, but no, man, cool stuff. We got a lot of great things going on with our company and whatnot. But
big transition time, man. Yeah, we were just talking about that. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of things moving and changing, and
I question all of them. I've been questioning them all today. Like it's good to question things. Questioning is not a negative. You can come at it from a negative lens and make it negative, or question someone just for the sake of questioning, and that could also be your ego challenged by something, so then you get very defensive and you question, but not so much that stuff, but just like, all right, what do we have everything going on right now? Yeah. Okay, let's pause, and then like, hey, what's priority? What's our goal? What's the greatest ROI for the time and money that's invested in a lot of those moving parts, man? And I think we're, how do I say this modestly? I think we're good at it. I think we analyze really well. I think we seek advice when it's needed really well. I think, you and I bouncing ideas off of each other helps a ton. And I think we're good at it. Yeah,
man. One thing I think that we're like, that you got to be good at in addition to those things is like, man, when we're so quick to like create just new income streams or new attention streams, also with that questioning is like, hey, what do we cut ties on? Yeah. What do we bail out on? Because there's a lot of things. And I think that's what's good about getting some reps in business is it becomes, you can more quickly identify what's working and what's not working.
And just understanding like just where your time and where your energy or your money goes, and just not being so emotional about it versus like, let me use this example. Friends are going to hate it. All my friends at golf, I love you. Just sit down. Just sit down for a minute and listen. Because I'm only using this for an example because it does work for some people it doesn't. But just for the sake of this conversation, guys that say like, oh, no, man, I know it's golf, but no, man, it's networking, and I meet a lot of potential clients from that. Hey, man, are you saying that because you want that to work? Like you want that to be a source of income for you? Because it's very convenient because you really like to golf. So then it's like, oh, no, man, I get a lot of potential clients. And it's like, but you actually don't get a lot of business from that. Like, you just have to really be able to analyze like what works and what doesn't work.
And I think some guys probably legitimately do.
I doubt it.
I think some guys do a lot of business on the golf course, I think.
I think a lot of business can happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
the majority though, everybody, no.
I don't think you're gaining clients a ton on a golf course. I can't speak, man. I don't golf, but just from like my experience in business.
Yeah, particularly real estate.
We gain a lot of partnerships and like collaborations when you and I are like off of our like what our craft is, right? When you and I are at a Nuggets game or we're at a dinner and we're just talking to somebody, ideas and partnerships to collaborate on an event or on a business endeavor happens a lot. Finding a buyer or a seller, no.
It's just a lot of freaking time, dude.
And it's
too much damn time.
No one wants to see me cry. I can't gain clients golf to see me crying. But
too much time.
Digressing from you golfers, man. We love your old asses.
Yeah.
No, good stuff, man. We've gone. I want to dive into a couple things today, Eli, if you're okay. Yeah. And then I've gotten like the dust, the cobwebs off. You and I did shrooms not too long ago. Well, you kind of you've talked me into it. You forced me.
Not portobello mushrooms.
You found some of my handcuffs.
Not shiitake mushrooms.
No, we did real shrooms. Yeah. I think it was good, man. Like, I've been open-minded to some things, and I think we've grown to a certain level where I think I was seeking more, but didn't necessarily know what more was. And I think I got burnt out on seeking more from humans. I think sometimes, I'll value certain relationships in my life, and then I'll seek advice for them, or I'll like tell them what I got going on because like I want them to feel important. And that's false on my part. They might already feel important in my life. I don't need to seek advice from them when I'm really not needing their advice, but I want to involve them on like what I'm doing, and like, nah, that's weird. What are you reaching for there?
Yeah.
And I've done that. And like, that's also like, you're putting like a hard expectation on people to do that. But like, I think it's just because I care for them and I want them involved with what I do just as much as I want to be involved in what they do.
Yep.
You just have to be careful. So I think it comes from a good place, but you just have to be careful and just allow relationships to be what they are. And
yeah,
like a buddy of mine told me like, hey, Will, like, I'll say it, Tosh, like, he's always met, it's not that you haven't mentioned that before either, but like, Tosh would always, hey man, like, but hey, just being you is good enough. I had no fucking clue what that even meant, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, no, this is me. Like, I want to help. I want to do this. I want to be a value add. And like, nah, there was more I had to peel back. And I think the biggest thing that I learned is ego. But you don't know what an ego is. I thought I knew what an ego was. I thought it was like the chest bumping, I got this figured out. No, man, there's more. There's more concept to ego than that.
It's more of like a real thing that's a tool for us and can hurt. But that's the only context we typically hear it of is, oh, he's egotistical.
Yeah, 100%.
See that. Yeah.
And I've noticed that because I've like identified people's egos a lot more. Like my wife didn't even know she had one. Oh, she's got one.
Literally every person
because
does.
I'm such a phenomenal partner. I just conveniently like mention that, like, hey, is that your ego talking?
Yeah.
And I say it so like nonchalant. Dude, the looks that I've gotten in return, I'm like, oh, you need to do shrooms.
That's so
you don't
funny.
get it? Like I'm being funny, but I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about our men's group that we're we're creating, Kaizen group. Man, I'm super. We've been asked to do that for the past couple of years, and we've said no to it for a long time, and I think now it's a good time.
Yeah.
And just with the integrity on what we're going to do, we're going to get into some details here on the mic, but I want to talk about that. And then I think the last thing I kind of want to talk about, if we have time for, is just, just a talent. And this is not from an ego. Like, I think telling people certain things or helping people ask themselves the right question is not speaking down to them, punching down on them. It's more like just getting them to ask themselves the right question as far as like business and entrepreneurship and
offering perspective.
It's just accountability there, but
especially when people are coming to you for that.
Fuck, man.
That's the difference.
You know what else pissed me off?
What?
Not pissed me off. That's a strong word. 2 words. Just a blanket state. I wrote about it on Instagram the other day about blanket statements like, oh, well, social media, that's just what people want to show you. Oh, that's just their, that's their highlight reel. And it's like, what the fuck is it supposed to be? Like when I'm crying on the toilet, taking a painful shit, I'm supposed to put that up.
Some people do.
When I'm having a bad day, I'm supposed to put that up. I'm going to show you what I want to show you, but there is, and we'll elaborate if we get time for that. But like, no, man, there is validity to that. There is a poker face to that because no, man, I want to beat the shit out of you. Like, I don't want to tear people down. I'm not here to bad talk anybody. Like, people, competitors. Let's just call them for the sake of for the lack of a better word. Other realtors, lenders in our industry. Your competition, especially if you're in Colorado. Now, I'm not going to bad talk you or shit on you, but no, man, I want to beat you. Right? So, like, if you follow my content and I'm not giving away gold nuggets or something, and like, by the way, when Gary Vee says he gives all of his content away, why does it cost $300,000 to sit with him for an hour? No, he doesn't. And if you watch his content, he'll tell you, no, I can only record about 40% of my day because all the other stuff where I'm speaking to clients you guys can't hear.
Like super private.
No shit. You don't think there's other stuff involved in that, but like, you got folks that'll sell shit.
Yep.
And you have folks. This is what I've seen. It's a binary, twofold. You have people that sell shit, right? Then you have other people selling shit by saying they don't sell shit. Okay. Oh, I don't make a fucking course. I give everything for free, and this is what I do. And like, hey, and like, that's it. That's what he's selling.
Come over
he's
here.
He's selling the lack thereof that
he's
transparent and insistent it's that, but come here. Versus the guys that are like, hey, buy our course. Hey, for $100 you can learn this. And there's bad people in each lane. There's people that'll sell you a $100 course and it is valuable. And there's people that'll tell you that like they don't sell shit and like come on and like and it is valuable. But then there's bad people in those spaces. So
all over.
Maybe that's a whole nother podcast, but. I've just been thinking about that a lot as far as like you and I talk about it a little bit. You have a little bit more context on me, and it's fun for you and I to elaborate because there's like some things you could give a fuck about, but if I bring it up or bring it to your attention,
Like, yeah, fuck that. Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, fuck that. You know, and like
yeah.
I'm just getting super into the jujitsu of business.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, dude, you got to do more jujitsu. And I'm like, no, bro. I've been beating dudes for a long time. Fucking, nah, it's cool. And a lot of dudes could whoop my ass. I'm not saying that like I've figured it out in that realm, but like the business stuff and the mindset and the competitiveness and like just watching the jockos and what they do. And I'm just like, nah, man, there's just as much jujitsu in that shit
Oh, completely.
as there is when he talks about jujitsu.
If not more, because you don't know what your opponent is doing.
At all.
You
and
know?
like, if you listen to our podcast, plus watch our videos, plus see my social media, if you're watching everything, you might connect some dots on a couple, because I do put some innuendos here and there that otherwise you might not pick up on it. But hey, man, that's okay. You know, like, but I'm not fake. I'm just showing you the layer or me through a lens that I want you to see. Like, I have control of that narrative. So why wouldn't I control it? And again, it doesn't mean I don't have bad days. I'll talk about some bad days or some days that I struggle, but I'm not like showing it in real time, because maybe in real time that's for me. And then on the flip side of that coin, I don't show some of our biggest accomplishments, because some of the most proud, biggest accomplishments, biggest paychecks you and I have ever made in a day or a month or a year are you and I drinking sparkling water in our fucking car on the way home from whatever endeavor that was, slapping fucking high five. Like, hey, that's not for everybody either, right? So like, I don't struggle with it, but I like
Analyze.
I analyze and battle some of that sometimes, because I'm like, hey, who the fuck is saying that? You know, and then like I watch people that who says that, and I'm like, well, I don't see you taking a shit on your Instagram. I don't see you this or that. Like, hey, like this is all. But of course, it's like, but hey, man, like, care what you show. Like, I'm just gonna take it at face value if I follow your content, and just understanding that like you control that narrative. Why would you not want to control that narrative? You know, like, there's just more method.
Well, and it's just human. It's human nature too. Like, you can say you want to show it all you want.
Yeah, or I think people are just completely complacent. They're just on social media posting whenever they're in the mood. So of course it's going to be good. I think the majority of people just kind of go through the motion with it, and it's just it's escapism or whatever. And like I'm also not judging escapism. Yeah, whatever you need that to be that's for you.
Right.
But digressing, a lot of these thoughts have come from mushrooms. So let's
go back to that.
Yeah. So we're just gonna go play by fucking play on this thing, bro. So Eli, nice. You know, like the first, so I come from like a military background, and regardless of what people say about like steroids and shit in the military, and like they pump you full of LSD and steroids, you guys are full of shit. Man. No, they do not. But just from a military and like government and then police background, like, and mainly police, you know, like is where most of my history, and I grew up in like a not so good neighborhood. So there's that, but then like being a cop, like you just see drug consumption in like a different light. It's very addictive. It's not productive.
Yeah, it destroys
Nor
people.
is it shrooms, but it's just like there's a lot of heroin and crack and just meth going on, and like, so you just tend a blanket statement or blanket thought when you think of like narcotics.
Especially when they're all classified as the same shit too. Yeah. That's a big problem.
I just never dove that far into it, but like I know like for you and some other guys, Joe Rogan's a big proponent of it. I think, you know, like just him exploring things and talking about has made me more open-minded. Yeah, but long story short, we talked about it for a couple of years and not quite ready. Didn't even know like when I'd be ready. I just knew like we were gonna try it a year ago, and like that day was kind of like starting out stressful with some things going on with our family. And it's just like, hey, bro, you cool if I cancel? And you're like, yeah, bro, this is not how you want to do it. You know?
That's the vibes, man. You start seeing those roadblocks.
So long story short, hey, we decided to do it. So Eli grabbed a fuck ton, and but it was cool, man. Like it was fall time, and it was like, hey, man, I didn't really know why you said we should be out in nature and stuff, and but hey, let's go to nature and, you know, surround ourselves with some good stuff. And I definitely feel like you and I just doing it by ourselves, you know. And you know why I like the nature? It was calming, and I just didn't have as many distractions. Like when you're on shrooms, like your thoughts can kind of, dude, I could literally feel the room, and like if I had a thought or something that was even slightly negative, the room would literally get darker.
Yeah, you feel the energy and
it would kind of, and then you and I would keep talking, and we'd shift it, and it would open back up. Yep. So I see how like the dark can kind of come in, and not that I'm a dark dude, but
but we all got it, dude. It could take one thought. It could take one thought.
Yeah, but we had good. So first and foremost, We take it. And I'm like, no, I don't feel it. You sure I'm going to feel it, bro? Like, it was that conversation. It was like,
Yeah, that everyone has.
hey, did we take enough?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you sure? Like, how long is it supposed to take? Okay, 45 minutes? All right. Oh, it's been like 44 minutes, bro. I don't feel shit, right? Like, and I remember, like, I kept trying to test myself. Like, I don't feel it. Maybe I should do something dumb
Yeah, yeah.
to feel it. So I'm like sticking my fucking eyeball in like an orange juice bottle, just like looking in it. And we're just hanging out. And then we start off with 1.5 grams, correct?
Yeah.
So people that are interested, I'm not telling you to do it, but if you are, figure it out.
We were baby stepping.
So
yeah.
Eli like boiled it up in a bunch in some tea, and we put the mushrooms in tea and drank the tea or whatever.
Yeah, I was being a little bitch about eating them.
We ended up eating a lot. we ate some, but
yeah, we tapered it out throughout the night. Yeah.
oh, tapered. Yeah, so we started off with 1.5 grams, right? And we drank it, and then I just remember like I was kind of getting some giggles.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe. And then like it was a little bit rainy outside, like kind of damp, and like just perfect fall day. Leaves were changing, but like a little bit colder. And like you went inside to go get your hoodie,
Mm-hmm.
and then you come back out, and you sit right next to me, and I fucking lost it because you had these tie-dye Crocs.
Oh yeah.
Big, and for whatever reason, like I think like it had already hit me, but I just hadn't like really identified with something that hit me. And dude, I've heard about the mushroom laughs,
Yeah.
but I've never like experienced it. Obviously, right? This train came out of nowhere, and I just like looked down, and I'm like, "Fuck!" But it, like at the same time, I was laughing. It was like this epiphany because I'm like, dude, that is so you though. That is so, dude. It was so beautiful, and you're like, yeah, bro. Like I'm just that comfortable, where like I could. And dude, I remember like laughing, but trying to tell you, like, dude, you don't get to just fucking walk out here with tie-dye Crocs and not announce it, not like
say something.
not
hey,
say
heads
something.
up, bro. Heads
Dude.
up. I'm coming out.
But every time I kept trying to say that, like, oh, it's you and it's beautiful, the laugh would come back. So it just, man, I was botching it. It was so bad. But those were cool. And like, that's when I definitely knew, like, oh, yeah, we're here.
Yep.
We've arrived. Yep. We've arrived. Not sure if you had anything at that moment in time.
Man, you know, what I really liked about it was we didn't have a lot of, and all mushroom strains are a little different, and every experience is literally its own fucking thing, right? Yeah. It's like every time I've done that, it's been a completely different experience every time. But I liked about this one in particular, especially with us and kind of what I was hoping it would be. Like, we didn't have a lot of distracting visuals, you know, like you're like, yeah, hey, nature looks cooler. There's more vibrant colors.
Well, we ended up going up to about just under 4 grams.
Correct? Man, I think, maybe 3.5. Yeah, I think
it was,
we were right around
3.78. Because I remember the last one that we took was 7.8, and we were already at 3.
And that was tapered over hours. So, yeah, probably different had we done like 4 grams all at once versus that.
Right.
But yeah, not a whole lot of visuals, man. But what's cool about that is that allowed us to just talk and be a little more introspective and just have conversation.
You mentioned something. Remember when we kind of went inside, you were in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And you were talking about like talking more, like doing more content or something, but then like you stopped talking, and I was like, that's it right there.
Yeah.
You're like, because I felt it. And it's funny because like your ego does go away.
Yeah.
And you were explaining to me how like we were talking about social media or something, and how you were like starting to make more content. Mm-hmm. And I was like listening to your explanation, but then you cut yourself off. You're like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm like, no, like, hey, talk more. Because I was listening, and I'm like, that's it, motherfucker. Like, hey, I'm really listening to you. Like, talk more. I'm like, that's it. Like, you need to talk more.
Yeah.
You need to talk more. Like, oh, dude, like I'm catching myself really listening to what you have to say. That must mean other people really listen when you do choose to talk. Motherfucker, talk more.
Yeah.
It was like this. It was like a cool epiphany. It was like, no, not that I wouldn't have told you that when I was sober. Like I don't have, like I give credit where your credit's due.
Oh yeah.
But it's just like, man, like the way you pick up on things, and it was like, like,
and easier to like digest too. Like someone could be telling you something just completely about yourself or whatever that might be hard to hear, or not even hard to hear, but just, man, when it's just, again, human nature, when people start to tell us shit about ourselves, almost immediately we start like thinking in our minds how that's not us, or, oh, they don't really know me, or this, when it's like, no, just even hearing how you're perceived is so much easier to like hear when you're in that setting.
I remember I cried.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking about like where I put a lot of energy and effort, but hey, sometimes it doesn't work out, and like, man, like some people capitalize on it, but sometimes it doesn't work out. But like, but hey, that's not my fault. Like, but I, and I was like, because man, I'm pouring in like I'm a good dude. I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
And I just paused. Remember that? And I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
Man, it was such a weird thing to say to myself, but there was no ego to it. It was like me telling myself, like, man, you're a good dude.
And not convincing yourself.
No.
But finally telling yourself and actually hearing it.
Yeah. And it was like, cut yourself a break. Like, and I think what I figured out in that moment was, I don't know what my self-talk looked like prior to that. I don't know if I was really talking to myself prior to that. I think a lot of it was like, I would talk to myself about circumstances and situations where, that were going on, and like, hey, what are we doing next, and how can we fix things? But I think a lot of my self-worth was coming from whether somebody took my advice or efforts and like ran with it and became successful with it. But if someone didn't, I would carry that. And it's like, hey, whether they become successful with or better off with whatever value add you're trying to be or not, neither one of them have, because you're not going to take that person's credit for their success. And I never do that. But then why do you wear their failure? And why do you stress on it? And it's like, no, like neither their success or their failure has anything to do with the fact that like I'm just pouring in and teaching or helping out with something to just be a value add, because it feels good to do that for people. And that's where it starts and ends. Is that action. And like, yeah, it was like interesting to just have like the realization of like, I'm a good guy, man. Like I mean well with what I'm trying to like. Yeah. And that made me cry.
And that knowing, man, like people, they'll doubt themselves forever. A lot of times they don't even have those conversations with themselves to even be able to like articulate and feel that.
It let me separate from things too, because you'll get caught in this rut of like I don't expect anything in return from people. If I'm deciding to be kind or whatever, it's there for that. But if for some reason like they don't give the same amount of effort back to me, you can't help but kind of feel bummed or something. And it completely helps you remove that like people just are who they are. They're going to respond how they respond. They're going to show care how they show care. And we were talking about that. And I was talking about understanding. And then you made this great comment about, you were like, yeah, dude, and like just forgiveness. Like, hey, we're all just humans, bro, trying to figure it the fuck out. Like, we're all so damn critical of one another, but we've got so many excuses for ourselves as to why we can't do something or be whatever. But then like we're critical of others versus like, hey man, if someone gets back to you, they do. And if they don't, man, like they don't. But like instead of overanalyzing that, just like, yeah, that dude's probably just figuring out his life on his fucking boat too, right? Like, hey, that's cool, man.
In all different phases, all different chapters, all that shit.
You just get it more. You don't even look for an apology because you're just like, man, I get it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, man, the ability to, when you mentioned separate, like the ability to be able to like take your relationships, your problems or situations.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Remember that moment where like I told you, like I feel like you and I were like our higher selves at this cabin. But you were at home and I was at home. But we were here. Like our higher selves. It's so weird describing it sober. I remember like I texted Kate and I just thanked her for who she was. And it was so weird because I was like, hey, I'm going to come home tomorrow. And when I do, I'm not going to speak this well. Really interesting. Because
well, and that's great awareness too.
Well, the way I show care is like getting after it, right? Like, especially for people that have bet on me. Man, I'm so partial to that. So like, no, I'm getting up. And for me, it's not motivation. Like, I don't know if I'm motivated or not. It's like, fucking get up, dude. I fucking brush my teeth. I fucking wash my face and shit. And like, and I get my mind right. And I get to the gym before I give myself too much time to think about it. Cause then I'll start doing emails or phone calls and I'm into my day. So I try to just get there without thinking too much about it. But like, man, I get after it for my family because I love them. And I want them to have a certain lifestyle and certain things. And when I'm home, I'm home. It's not like I'm never home or anything like that. But like, I don't think like I pause to say more than like, hey, man, I love you. You know, really love you. And I think my effort comes out in action. So like when we were up there, man, you and I just haven't paused in a long time. And we paused, you know, but like I was texting her like I wasn't me. I was texting her like I was higher me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, here's what I really appreciate about you. And I know this is text, but like moment of clarity, here it is. And hey, when I come home, I literally said, hey, that guy's going to come home tomorrow.
It's like being in a dream, man, knowing you're going to wake up.
He loves you.
Yeah.
And he's going to do all he can. But hey, just know this is how he feels. Yeah, like powerful.
Super powerful, dude, and super important.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's also like she was okay with that. You know, like she doesn't here's what's really cool. You know, about like you or Kate. She doesn't make me frame the way I speak love a certain way. She just recognizes how I do and lets me be me. And I think I do the same for her, you know, like, because her lifestyle is different. She's like a working mom and certain things, and like maybe some things that she does other men wouldn't be okay with. I don't know, but like, and I think you and I have the same thing. Like, I recognize who you are, and I know you mean well to me. Like, I know how you express it, so I don't try to require you to speak a certain way, right? Like, but that was a good recognition. Like when I was speaking to her, because it wasn't like why don't you say this more often? And then when I got home, it wasn't like man, I wish I could hear more of that. Will. Like, nothing. Even now, we've been home for weeks since that experience, and like, she hasn't thrown that in my face. She hasn't nothing. She just like appreciated it for what it was, but then also knows that like I show my care in a certain way, how I show it. Yeah. And it's not so much trying to make me do it a certain way. It's more like just recognizing how I do show it and then being appreciative. You know, like that's cool, man.
And you taking the time to do that and recognize like, hey, this is how I am. This is how I feel. This is a way I can communicate this to you right now.
Well, and it was eye-opening too, man, because like I think I naturally do well with you and Kate because I'm around you guys a lot. So that those relationships have opportunity to flourish because you water them often. Yeah. But then I would catch myself with like other friends maybe focusing on like, well, hey, why aren't they responding like this? Or why aren't they responding at all? Like I was almost like subconsciously framing it to where I would want to get in return from them how I give to them. And it's like, man, like you can't do that, right? Because they're not you. And then just because someone does respond to you in a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that they should get more credit. Like if I butt heads with a friend or something and it goes a certain way, but then, hey, we're back to cool, but it's more distant, but then I butt heads with another friend and hey, we hug it out and we're good. And then he calls and takes initiative to do that. You're like, yeah, see, look, this guy does it. This guy doesn't. Yeah, but that's just who that guy is. Yeah. And this guy that doesn't talk to you as much, did he ever really talk to you that much in the first place? Like you can't put more weight and make someone more right than they are because they fall into a commonality with you of communication. You just have to really just see things for what they are.
Well, and that's conditional love. You know, that's conditional friendship. It's hey, I'm good with you. I'm your friend on these conditions.
I don't know if it's conditional or if it's just like you're limited in how you perceive humans.
Yeah, well, you're kind of putting conditions on how you think people should communicate
because you're limited in how you receive it. Like how you give things maybe is how you receive it. I don't know. Like there's a whole
well, and that's true. Yeah, that is 100% true.
It could be, you know, but like just an interesting experience, you know, and like it was fun to just pause and
yeah, the conversation that we had, dude, I'd honestly like never really had a mushroom experience like that. Like that felt more like a Molly conversation, you know. That's why I like MDMA so much, is because, man, just to be able to communicate and connect with somebody and feel that, like that conversation we had was like the first time we tried Molly, like what I kind of more expected, which didn't really turn out to be that way, you know, much probably a variety of different reasons, but I was so happy it turned out that way.
Yeah.
Because that's like my favorite, bro. That's why I love
It was very
this shit.
it was very introspective.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like people have asked me about it a little bit, and like I think it's just what I needed. You know, like I don't need Bugs Bunny running around so I can see him. Like, I don't give a fuck about that. Like
Yeah.
I think by nature I kind of seek more from myself and from this world. And when I mean seek more from the world, not like it owes me something, but more like I just want to go get more of it. You know, and like so like.
And there's
It's
so
very
much more
introspective.
out there.
Yeah.
There's so much more out there.
Dude,
And-
I literally felt like, remember we were looking at the trees and
Yeah.
I was making fun of these fucking trees because like all the leaves fell off in like 5 minutes, and I was like, oh fuck, that's it? Like fall's gone, you fucking leaves? We just got here. You fucking leaves, all these leaves fell. And I caught myself staring at the branches and it looked like veins or whatever inside of lungs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like the nerve endings or whatever that looks like. And I was watching them blow around, and then like I had this feeling that like we talked about lungs and like how, and it looked like the trees should have been upside down. Anyway,
Yeah, I get
that
it.
makes zero sense.
No,
Like,
I get it. Anyone's done mushrooms listening to that, like, nope, 100%.
right? Like, and but then I felt like I just felt this energy of like the wind blowing. Everything was like, oh, everything in this world, man, that's around you is breathing into you. Like it's gonna get out of your way. It's gonna move and push you if you use it. And just I had this interesting feeling of like literally down to the trees blowing wind, and like, hey, everything is here to push you and motivate you and put you wherever you decide to take it. Like, man, there is so much more,
Dude.
But it came from a place again of like not an egotistical.
Oh, man.
It was just more introspective, more that was interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. It was good.
Especially like someone like you, man. That's why I was really excited to do it with you, because I'm like,
Yeah, it could go out. It could go
man,
one way or
you're-
another.
You know, like you're so much just like that naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, it's just gonna be cool to just throw a little tool on top of this just to explore more. You know,
And that weed helped, right? We smoked a little
I
weed.
love weed
and-
on mushrooms.
So then we started like, here's what was really cool. This might be the shocker for all of you. We just stopped talking. Remember?
Yep, yep.
And I remember you asked me like, hey, like you asked me what I thought or something. I was like, hey man, you know what?
Yeah, I asked you.
good.
Yeah, I said, so what do you think of mushrooms? You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was right before we stopped talking.
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
still talking in that
Yeah,
moment. You were like,
yeah.
hey, so what do you think of mushrooms? And I was like, I don't want to tell you.
Yeah.
I said, I'll tell you tomorrow. I said, the guy that experienced mushrooms will be here tomorrow. I don't want to tell you. Right now we're in it. So I just want to feel it and talk about whatever this goes, but I'll talk about the shroom tomorrow. You know, like, no, I'm good. You know, and then we got to this point where we just got quiet, you know, and I just said, hey man, I'm not being quiet. Like I'm not down. We've said a lot of great things tonight and it all felt right. And I don't want to keep trying to force myself to say something special to make it continue to feel like it did an hour ago. Everything that was said and the moments that they were said in were perfect, and I'm just good not talking.
Yep. Yeah.
Like everything's been said. Like I accomplished, I think, what I wanted to accomplish from this, and I feel satiated. So hey man, I'm chilling, but like I'm good. And we just like sat on the couch for probably 45 minutes and didn't really say much, and then we smoked a little weed, and then turned on Sausage Party. If you haven't seen it, see it.
Yeah, good movie.
It's a great movie. But I wasn't laughing at it. I remember like the couple things I did say when you and I were watching it before we passed out. I was like, hey dude, this is a good movie. Like there's a lot of good lines in this. There's a lot of work behind this. Like, man, this guy this guy really put his best foot forward and put a lot of work, and I just appreciated the work that it was. You know, like
That's awesome.
like all the funny lines I would normally laugh at, I didn't laugh. I just appreciated like, wow, that was
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that pun right there was really good. Like,
Yeah.
wow, man, like in Douchebag, what an incredible character.
Oh yeah, Nick Kroll, he crushed that.
What a spot on,
Yeah,
just,
dude.
But the way he ate the juice box out and like, oh fuck, bro, like it was like
oh my god.
sober Will would laugh hysterically.
Yeah.
Mushrooms Will was just appreciating like just the different layers that they put together to create that, and I was also like, I bet these guys do mushrooms.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool. And
Man, there's a level of almost like compound interest, I feel, where you don't want to do that stuff all the time. Your body
don't
just
think you
doesn't
need to.
desire to do it. No.
Yeah.
But when it's an annual thing or a twice a year thing, you know, what I try and strive for is like more and more to be able to like take one little thing from each of those things and try and keep it with me as long as I can.
Yeah.
You know, like when you mentioned, hey, it's not going to be this person that comes home. Like, I think after enough experiences, that person is just more surface.
Well, like I try to listen to her. She's really smart, so it's hard. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but like she writes code and like develops stuff, right? Like it's not my wheelhouse, and it's really smart shit. So like asking Kate about her day, it's dangerous. You fucking better be ready to go, right? You can't be on your phone or doing some like. If hypothetically, if I were with someone in real estate, dude, I don't fucking need. I got it. I could so half-ass this and what you're saying and like be on top of it. But like with her, it's like I want to ask her about her day, but like I gotta pause and like listen and digest because I want to be able to interact with.
Give a shit. Yeah.
Well, and I just want to be able to ask good questions if I have questions, and you know. But I know it makes her feel important too. You know, so that's big for me. Is like just listening better. You know, and so I've been, you know, I work on that, and I've also still got a chip on my shoulder. It's just different. Like when we talk about, like for example, when we talk about this entrepreneur stuff and the talent behind entrepreneurship and the mindset and the being neurotic about certain things. It's like, man, I'm so okay to start talking about those things from such a different angle because I also feel like I'm doing people a favor by talking about it. Because like, so I was talking to an agent today and we had a great conversation. And it's like telling people the truth about how all of this stuff really does pan out. Man, you could save somebody 5 years of wasting their fucking time. And yes, it's on them if they waste their time. But more importantly, like, you just don't know what you don't know. And if everybody's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors and everybody's trying to recruit you and everybody's just trying to hire you, whether you're good at it or not, because they just want as many numbers in their building as they can, because even if they have 600 people, but everyone's doing one deal a year, like, well, that fucking adds up. And that's real estate, man. The Keller Williams, these big offices, they'll fucking recruit anybody and everybody because you pay to be there. And even if you do one deal, they're capitalizing. And, you know, when you do the math with having that many agents in your building, it does pay out.
Yeah,
like,
it makes sense.
But it's like
for their model.
But just people that are, you know, that are so good at a lot of things. You've either got to figure out how to translate that into real estate or translate it into maybe working for a builder, you know, or translate it into the different side of real estate or not real estate at all. So when I talk about these things, I'm not like, oh, I'm fucking better than you. You don't fucking know what it takes. You don't fucking, like, it's not that. It's not that kind of felt cool, but it's not that. It's just more like, hey man, I feel like I'm good at it, and it fucking still takes all of this on top of, I think, leadership and coaching and salesmanship and building a brand and being able to articulate. I think that's just me, but it still takes all of this other shit, using those tools like this to take it successful. So if it's not your wheelhouse, I feel like, man, it's so hard to win when it's your strength.
It is.
Like use baseball, for example, right? Like, how good are baseball pitchers? That's their thing, dude. There is no pitcher in baseball at a professional level that's like, oh, yeah, man, I was terrible at it, but I practiced really hard. And, man, I just became good at it. No, motherfucker. Those guys were naturally born at throwing a ball. And they did all of this shit just to be decent in Major League Baseball. Fuck. And like, I feel like that's entrepreneurship, man. Like, no, you've got to figure out your wheelhouse and your strengths and things that come supernatural that you're great at, that you put the least amount of effort into, and then find a way to organize it and put a lot of effort and direction to it. And then maybe it'll pay off
after years.
Yeah.
After years.
Yeah. And there's just not enough talking. Like, dude, if I put basketball player on my Instagram, nobody's going to believe that shit. I'm like, well, what team do you play for? What do I get to say? The fucking Cross Stars in Aurora? No, they're like, you're looking for the Pistons, the fucking Lakers, right? Like, because you don't get to say that unless you're at a professional level. But like, you can put influencer, public figure, and I'm one of them. Mine says entrepreneur, but I feel to my bone, hey, we're successful and vetted at that, literally from the ground up, and I'm proud to, like, you know, say that. But I also recognize that entrepreneur, public figure, these other things, like, you get a pass.
I mean,
you know?
the only thing that shows is your results. Like that's
Yeah.
that's the only thing.
One, it's beyond just social media, right? Because I hear this shade when people like there's podcasts I listen to and they question people's followers. I've heard big people question people's followers and like, oh yeah, so and so's got like 1 million followers. Yeah, but you know, like, oh yeah, they're like not all of them are real, or like, you know, and like me, I got like 130,000. You know, like I felt like somebody threw me shade one time, like all of mine aren't real. Like, no, man, like I promote my page. Like, yeah, man, there's bots, there's fake accounts spamming you, there's people duplicating my account to pretend to be me with a different name. Like, yeah, but that doesn't mean I don't have a real following. Right. And it doesn't mean I'm going to stop promoting my account.
Right.
I'm going to continue to promote my Instagram for all the real accounts that do find me and do follow me. And if you're going to get bots and spam accounts and different weird shit, like, do you know what that is in the cyberspace world? That's all the junk mail you get at your house, asshole.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to stop getting mail at your house because you got fucking bullshit flyers in your mailbox? But no, man. Like, it's part of it, you know? And like, but that's also like when people speak to that, it's like, hey, man, that's your own ego.
It is.
Or that's your own insecurity that you don't have that many followers. And not having that many followers, you can falsely have more pride for having less because the ones that have more must be on steroids or must be fake, right? Like
that's the part about talking shit that like I don't like is because you can super expose yourself.
When you're talking shit like the person doesn't know, like, hey, dude, I think everybody that's ever promoted their page or a post publicly understands like you get spammed with those, and there's no way you're going to keep up to it, right?
Yep,
And like,
yep.
But hey, man, I'll take the spam ones for all the real ones that I get for the people that do interact with me. And hey, cool. And if you have 130, but then but there's only this many that are real. Like, that's cool because when I get to 500,000, then I'll have this many that are real. And when I get to 1 million, then I'll have this many real. But like, you know, like just post our experience and like what we're doing. I really do have integrity with what we do. I really do have integrity with reaching our audience. And like, if people have the things to say about that, it's like, man, like, you're just limited in your just the context that you speak to, and man, people like that aren't buying from you anyway. They're not buying your podcast. Not that this is I don't mean literally buy. I mean both. Yeah. People that want to throw shade or look deliberately for that to have something to say. That's not a supporter of you anyway. I don't know, man.
And just when
trying to cater to people that have those things to say. Hey, those guys aren't getting you to the next level anyway.
No, and man, just people that just have too many opinions in general. You know, when it's like that's usually those people.
Well, I'll tell you this much: Andy Frisella follows me. Yep. Cameron Haynes follows me.
Yep.
Sal Frisella follows me.
Yeah, some dope people.
Iron Cowboy follows me. Yeah. Right? Like, no, man. There's and the reason why I'm crediting all of those guys for following is because those guys following me, a lot of their following now follows me. Like, man, I super appreciate that. But like, hey, just pump the brakes on that, you know, and like, I don't know, smoke and mirrors, you know, but like, don't necessarily like, don't write a narrative where like, yeah, that's a little true, fake accounts and certain things, but like, don't ride that narrative to then make blanket statements like, oh man, like 90% of their followers aren't even real. Like, that's a real number? Because if you're going to go to like this factual statement, you don't get to then be facetious and like say something that then supports your narrative, right? Like you're just limited.
I bet it makes them feel better though.
I don't know.
Yeah, I bet it makes.
I don't know if they're even paying attention to how
coping mechanism.
But if they were paying attention to how they feel,
then
maybe they wouldn't be saying that in the first place.
That's true.
I don't know.
That's true.
Digressing, there is a lot of just effort, and so I battle with that, right? Because like I want to help as many people as I can, but then as we're helping people, there are people that come around. I got a buddy come sit down with me for a one-on-one, which I never do. In the business world, right? And oh man, your guys' YouTube is crushing it, and that's so cool. And like, man, I just want to learn that. And it's like, hey, dude, I can't teach you fucking YouTube in an hour. And more importantly, you're in the same business world I am. Why would I hand my playbook over to you? It's so weird when people expect that. And I don't mind helping people. That's not it, right? Like,
like there are agents that we work with that like, we do share stuff with.
But it's the ignorance that like, all right, man, I'm going to give you my time for free. And you want to sit down for an hour to learn YouTube. And the only reason why you're sitting down is because I definitely know you saw the post where I've been marketing some things and you know how much money we make from that channel.
Yeah.
And now you believe it.
Yeah.
But if you got to see certain results to believe it, I believe you that you believe it. You have no context of like what it takes. And the fact that like you want to sit down for an hour to learn it, like, man, that's such an ignorant thing to ask for.
Yep.
You know? So like, it's just like, man, like, I still have that chip on my shoulder of like, dude, like you don't have context of how hard it is and what it takes and the sacrifice of like not being with family as much and like willingly, that's us. But I'm just seeing things from a bird's eye view, and I'm seeing people's behavior and like where the attention comes from and like what people want from you.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, like, I know people want things from you. That's not always bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm seeing it from like this bird's eye view where like not only am I recognizing that people want things, I'm seeing like how they frame it.
Yeah,
I'm
what
seeing
the
like
hook
how
is.
they're being kind.
Yeah.
I'm seeing what they're doing to like get. And for me, dude, I'll give it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want to see the next level of like, hey, I know what you're doing. Hey, I know where you're being nice. I know where that compliment came from, and I know you want something.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be super passive and act like I don't recognize any of this because I just want to see what you sit down and what your hook with is. Like, man, this is almost like a social experiment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to see it.
Yeah. Now,
And the second you ask them to invest their time or money, there's a deflection.
yeah, they're gone.
And it's like, oh, you want me to fucking do this for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, cool. Like, and dude, it was worth my time because when I notice these things, it is a social experiment for me because that's helping me get better at people, and I'll be able to recognize that a lot quicker. And like, then your ability to make decisions and where your time goes to, you're better equipped with making that decision. But it's interesting seeing it
Now,
from
by
that
far,
level.
man, like we've had 2 guys reach out in the past month, 2 months, whatever, where they've been like, you know, they're in the industry, but they're like, hey, I've been digesting your shit. I've been implementing it. It's been working.
Oh, yeah.
It's phenomenal. And this is the first time we've heard from them. And they're like, hey, I've watched all your videos, man. The stuff is working. Man, I'd love to be around you guys some more. And, you know, and then
they just join the team. But it's cool
Yes.
when like people take 0 of your time and they just learn and apply what
Because
you're
it's
already
out there.
teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other people don't. They want you to give it to them. They want you to do it for them. And you're like, And like, I don't know if it's mature or not. It is what it is. I'm still a fucking player,
yeah.
right? Like,
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers is still on the field, bro. The way that guy helps players now versus when he's done with the game is different. Like, that's what I feel like when lenders come ask or like, oh man, what do you think if I did a YouTube channel from like my angle? I just think like, hey man, I've got a preferred lender. I have a lender that we work with. Why would I teach you or do for you what we're doing? Why would I do that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, and now let's just talk more about that business. Because it's like, yeah, no, I do love teaching. There's things I want to do, but like, yep, like certain access that realtors have to us. Do the realtors that are in our network, in our downline, get more? Yeah. Yeah, because they're in our network. Like, there's revenue shared there. Like, that's business, man. Like, time is money. I'm going to pour in and super uber teach people that are in our network. And like, hey, good on them for committing to our network and coming here where they can actually learn something. And then it's my responsibility to make sure that like I do what I signed up to do and what their expectations of me are to do.
Yep.
Oh, well, make sure we do them. But like, if you have no intention of committing or coming over, like you still want me to give you the same level of care, this is why you're not going to win. Like, that's not how this works, man.
Dude, I saw that shit all the time as a trainer. Those are the people that just would DM me asking for a diet plan or a workout plan. And I'm like, okay, how long have you been working out? Oh, well, that's what I want the plan for is so I can go work out. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, no, go work out.
Or the person that'll like ask you like one question a day while you're training someone else because they go to the gym every day. Hey, bro, what do you think of this? And you're like, hey, man, stop fucking asking me questions. Like, I know what you're doing. Just train, just commit and train and learn.
Just go. Yeah.
And I'm okay. Like, you don't have to because really, like, that's just me where I have to make that decision. But then on the flip side, like with the lenders, it's like, hey, dude, why would I do that? Like, I've got a preferred lender that has built alongside of us. That's like, why would I go give you our playbook to?
Yeah, because they don't appreciate their time.
It's not a good business.
Yeah, they don't value their time.
Well, and like for me, like, so how that meeting prefaced or began was I asked a ton of questions.
No answers, huh?
He doesn't watch our fucking channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, hey, bro,
No.
you're coming in here because you know how much money that channel makes and you've done no fucking recon. And you know what? Don't. But if you ask to be sat down by someone and they agree, you should stay up all night watching at that point just to make sure you have context. You know? So like, there's just different. And like, dude, let me be so full disclosure. Turn the page on that. I got to spend 2 days with Ben Newman. Cost $25,000. Most people don't understand that, right? Like, let's just have that conversation. I meet Ben Newman through a homie, And he's happy to give me his fucking stuff, right? Because he's not a realtor. There's no competition. He's a leadership guy. He's a coach guy. I'm a guy that's in that in addition to, so, you know, him and I are both college grads, but I have an emphasis on real estate. He has an emphasis on something else, right? So I remember we were top 1% in the world, bro. Like a year and a half in, and Gavin was super impressed with us, and like, oh, Will's like this Jocko guy. He's like a local Jocko, and hey, man, that's probably too heavy, but thanks for that comment and compliment. And he calls Ben Newman on his cell phone, right? Hey, dude, I've got this guy. He's in the top 1% worldwide for Berkshire right now in production, and they're killing it. But he's a Marine and was in the infantry, did some SOCOM shit, did some mercenary shit, and hey, he was a cop, and you know, built this other independent company with his buddy where he was number 2. Now he's over here, and it's translated. He's in the top 1% for Berkshire. I mean, he threw the resume out there, and Ben was like, "Hey, that's great, man. Like, super, super excited to hear that you've had some success. And hey, what's your, you know, what?" I was like, "Hey, man, I appreciate that. Like, I've known who you are because of Gavin. And hey, man, I went through your first book, and you know, hey, I follow on Instagram." And he goes, "Hey, cool." He was like, "Hey, what's your Instagram?" Told him my Instagram, and he goes, "Awesome, man. Well, hey, listen, you guys have a great day. Like, man, keep it up, and I'll be watching." That's the polite get fucked conversation. get fucked. Like, I don't.
Or I'm gonna sit back and
no, I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's like you get taken back because it's like, dude, I got that far in life.
Yep.
And the guy's like, "Cool, man."
Yep.
But like, doesn't necessarily warrant his time. He doesn't fucking owe me anything because the guy hooked me up. And like, that's the other thing. Like, people think that you owe him shit.
And he's
like,
not trying to sell you something right away.
Yeah, man. Like, people want like, "Oh, what's this?" Or, "Hey, what do I get for this?" Or, "Can you guys give me for that?" I don't owe you a fucking thing, man. Like, and that's where people go wrong in business is like, they're overly concerned with like what's in it for them and what people owe them versus like how they can be a value add. And when you're new or you're not where you want to be, people don't owe you shit. You owe them everything to be a value add so you can prove that you are worth their time. So, for example, even as successful as you and I are, if we're seeking more and there's people above us that we seek it from, it's our initiative to be the value add and to show that whatever
100%.
time they're giving us is worth their time. And I want to be a financial and a whatever value add I can be for you.
Yeah.
Because you'll continue to pour into me. In the long game, I will then benefit from that. But if I'm going out of Ben, like, what's it for me? Dude, that's not going to work.
No, that's entrepreneurship.
So, bro, he still didn't. So then we hit top 0.5%. Him and I would talk on Instagram every once in a while. We'd message each other, and he's a super busy guy. And then it wasn't until after we were on Annie Frisella's podcast where I finally was like, "Hey, man, here's what we've accomplished, and I feel prepared to ask you to be on the podcast." And he was like, the way he framed his response was like, "Well done.
Yep.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do."
He's been observing this whole time.
And then he said what he said, and then he said, "As long as we can commit to 30 minutes, is 30 minutes okay?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "Great." He goes, "I'll get you with my assistant, and we'll see what's available, and let's rock and roll." It was 4 months out. Like, it's a fucking hookup. There was no "let's do it tomorrow." It was 4 months out, right? And then on that podcast, we talked, and off camera, we got to talk a little bit more with him, and he talked about these private sessions he does where he pulls the curtain back on everything it is that he does in business. And I didn't say I'd like to be a part of that. "Oh, dude, that's dope. I'd fucking love to come to that." No. I said, "Ben, man, that's interesting. And here's where Elon and I are at. And hey, do you think I would be a candidate for that? Do you think I've hit a certain level of success where I could actually retain and understand what you teach at something like that?" And the way he framed that was very complimentary, and it was, "I think you'd be the best candidate for it." But the way that he framed it was not to impress me, wasn't to sell me. You can't fucking sell me anyway. But it was like, I get it.
And you weren't sitting there saying, "Okay, so for that much money, what exactly do I get?
Nope.
What does that look like?"
No.
No.
I did say, "Hey, I'm okay with whatever it is, but man, just so I can plan what's the price on this?" And he said $25,000.
Yeah. Dude,
And I said, "Okay."
I think
Because
that's...
I'm coming to him.
Fuck yeah.
If I'm asking to be a part of something that he does, or if I'm asking to be a part of his organization, I'm not going to question what he does. You don't get okay, well, like, what does that get me?
Yeah,
and what am I supposed to do with that? And like, okay, and that's gonna make me... No, motherfucker. It's either gonna triple you, quadruple you, or do fucking nothing.
Yep.
What you take from this and where you apply this is 1,000% on you. He's already solidified qualified, accredited, that his shit fucking works.
Yep.
You, if it doesn't work for you, it has nothing to do with Ben.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could tell he's already solidified and grounded with his product. But that's not what I said. I said, done. Okay. And then we made it work, and now we're implementing those things, and it's helping, and we're going to make that 25 grand back. Like we probably already have tenfold, right?
Yeah,
like
we have. Yeah.
But there's just an interesting dynamic. Same with like Sal Frisella, Andy Frisella. Like, these are good dudes, man. But you don't just get their time.
No.
You know, and
it's important not to.
And it's not a dickhead move.
No, it's important not to. It's better for everybody that you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a buddy we have that's pretty high up in the Facebook world, right? He's pretty much in the cabinet for Mark Zuckerberg. We'll leave it at that. Pretty high up. He's the number one.
The Meta, you mean?
Yes, excuse me.
Meta.
He's the number one guy that talks about protecting his time and where he chooses to give it. And he's been such a great mentor as well. And that's cool. But like, yeah, man, it doesn't come from like an egotistical way as far as like just being a value add in the entrepreneur side of things and just
to me, that's one of the quickest ways to identify an employee versus an entrepreneur is they get that. And look at, like, from an employee, you go to your employer. It's like, how much am I getting paid? When are my breaks? How long are my breaks? What benefits do I get? How much vacation time? It's me. Okay, I'll do this thing for you. 100%. Yep. But when you see, and that's why I love when people do that shit in entrepreneur world, because real fast you're like, oh, I see what you are.
Well, we've had those meetings where I've literally like in the middle of the meeting just said, hey man, we're not for you.
Yep.
And then they backpedal.
Yep. Yeah.
They realize like they went too hard, and then they try to talk themselves back into, oh, well, no, I'm just saying like, well, this, and like, no, I just want to be sure with like this. And I go, hey man, it's not an ego thing. Like, I'm doing you a favor, and like, yeah, you were this, but yeah, you were that. Like, I know exactly what you were doing. Yeah. You know, like, hey, it's cool, but like, and I'm not even mad that you are the way you are. I'm just very careful now with, hey, I know what that is, and that's not where I put my time.
Yep.
Cool, right? Like, it's not I'm not trying to change you. I'm not trying to one-up you. I'm not trying to punish you. It's just like, hey, you're a square out, I'm a circle.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, and if you get the entrepreneur thing, it's like you have to lead with value.
You also need to understand, like, when you're around people of value, if you do like to get, what's in it for me? Like, business is selfish. I got to look out for myself. Fine. But when you put yourself around players that are extraordinarily helpful and influential and could bring your career and be a game changer, that's when you got to put that shit away.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Right? Like, this is like, you got to know, like poker. You got to know, man, like when to bluff.
Yeah.
You got to know when to be, like, you got to be able to read a room or just do the recon on the people that you're speaking to and just know, like, when that's not the right.
Well, dude, in entrepreneur world, I don't know if, man, like, it's so hard to even say when that's the right play, especially like when you're in the early phases.
I'll give you this advice.
You got to do everything in your business. You got to lead with value.
Well, and people still don't fucking believe you and I do everything. Like, when people talk to us about YouTube, I go, hey, dude, Eli made the intros and the outros, and we do all of our own drone and all of our own B-roll, and we record ourselves. We do all of that shit. We have an editor. She puts the shit together. You know, and then like people will like talk to her, like people that are in our network use her sometimes, and hey, make my video like Eli and Will's. I don't know what the fuck that means.
Like, you're not Eli.
Well, like these movie clips, and like you realize those guys tell me to put the movie clips in. Like they literally say while they're recording, hey, at this point, put this in right here. Cool. And when we go back to speaking content, like, I don't think people put enough resignation around or weight behind the actual people that are operating.
Yeah, well, they've never had to do shit for themselves,
and because it's so new to, like, people think anyone can do it. So if they're not succeeding at it, it's somebody must not be giving them something. Somebody must not be doing something. And well, these guys must have people for that, because like, if I had people for that, I could do it too. No, we are the fucking people, dude.
And that's not even something that he's bragging about. Like, that's not even a brag. That's not even a flex. That's like,
if you ever want to be profitable and you're starting from the ground up, you're going to learn how to do all sorts of shit and be very crafty on your own, because you don't have the money to pay out to everybody. And then even when you get to these upper levels, like where you and I are at right now, I'll talk to you about fucking $5 if I don't think it's going to fucking matter. Right. And because we have put the weight on ourselves to do it, you better really be good at what you're doing if I'm hiring it out.
Yeah.
Because if I think you and I could do it better, we've got the time, and I think that we just have more context and can do it better, we'll just do it. And that's my advice for you with the entrepreneur world, is like, be super resourceful, and putting higher players around you and learning from them is such a great benefit for you. Just also realize that you should expect yourself to be able to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And that's what you and I are, man. Like, we have a lot of great people around us, and they're blessings, and we do a lot of cool shit, but we also Don't need an ounce of it.
No, and that's how we can spot good and bad work too, is because we know what the fuck we're looking at.
Yeah. And you know what Brad Lee said?
What's that?
Because he goes, hey, I close all these guys. You guys keep watching. If you don't know Brad Lee, look him up. Yeah. But that guy's got a production company and does CRMs.
It's not Bradley. It's Brad, Lea.
Yeah.
Yeah, first name, last name.
Eli's already given you a shortcut. See, I should have made you. I'd have made you look for that. But the bottom line is that guy's got like a back end CRM systems, media production stuff. Okay. But he's closed everybody. All the big players, your Grant Cardones of the world that are just blasting fucking content, whatever. Like, where do you think it all gets produced and done, and all the CRMs, all the advertisements?
Interesting.
Like, he's that guy. He's like, hey, all these fucking guys you follow, I closed all of them, and he has, right? Like, and he goes, you know how and people start seeing, because they see him more, right? Yeah. And then people, he said, man, people always ask me, like, hey, how do you get in the room with all these guys? You know, like, hey, how do you get in the room with this guy and that guy? Like, how are you doing it? He's like, you want to know how you get in the room with all these guys? You become one of them. You're not sucking their cock. You're not kissing their ass. You're not doing their fucking work. You're not buying your fucking way in. You're not buying their event so you can get a fucking selfie with them. Hey, all of you can go do that, but you're not going to be a peer. You're not going to be in that room amongst those peers as one of them. You know, like you just have to remember that. So be appreciative of the guys that are around you, but like, you got to find a way to be one of them. And that's what you and I are doing. Like, that's not an egotistical thing. We're putting the work in to create our own pillar of success. That's a value add for other people that then gets respected. And like, yeah, you do end up in that room. Yeah. And that's just not spoken about enough, which leads me to our final point today, which is the men's group.
Yes.
So we pulled the trigger on this. It's called Kaizen Group. Kaizen is Japanese, right? It's ever evolving,
constant, never ending
improvement, right? Frame it up how you want. Like, I like that, because every day as you become like a higher level version of you, you should also be seeking that next higher level version of you, because you've got more to play with there. You know, like just not being stagnant, not relying on just what you know today to just let that, but just ever evolving. And so we're doing that. We're capping it at a certain number of guys. And if you're curious about that, you're local to Denver, or you feel like flying to Denver every month, you're more than welcome. Hit me up on Instagram, send me a message. But we're doing that, and we're going to have some fun with it. So there'll be 4-hour masterminds once a month.
Those are not just real estate.
No, these are this is just dudes. This is just guys that are seeking more, that are at a certain level of success, that just want more. And so once a month, we'll do a 4-hour mastermind. And then once a week, you'll get calls and stuff with us. But it's just, we're going to pull the curtain back on everything it is that we do. And in addition to that, we're going to bring in some guest speakers. Some are famous, some aren't. They're all within our network. They've all been a huge value add to our success. And I think that they could contribute to a group like this. But it's going to be fun, man, because I've got a buddy who cooked for Beyonce and Justin Bieber and Peyton Manning, and he lives here in Denver. He's a good buddy of ours, and he rogered up.
Beyonce?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, for her booty. Something, I don't know.
That's cool.
But he'll be doing that. So we're going to have when you come to the Pullman, we're going to be doing it at the Pullman in the private commercial section up top on the roof, and indoor, outdoor, depending on the weather. But we're going to have an amazing, one-of-a-kind meal every single month. You're going to have an amazing whiskey. We're going to have a cigar. We're going to have an amazing, every month the theme of food will be different, right? Manly food, but just different theme, right? So we'll do that and just have a great time as far as like just getting some good food in you. And just allowing you to have that first hour to just interact with the guys in the group and talk a little shit, and have some good food and just get your walls down, get your mind prepared to soak up. And then we're going to have, 2 to 2.5 hours of just whatever we're instructing that day, or a guest speaker that's there to deliver a message that day. And then the last bit of it will be for Q&A. And then after that, you'll have weekly chats with us, and just to keep you accountable, and you pay to play, and that's good to learn, man, because, I've given a lot of time away for free, I'm learning how to protect my time. And that's something that's big for me this year. It's like being able to pour into people that are actually going to use it and run with it. Like the people, man, that take the most of your time at no cost are also the people that do the least amount with it. It's interesting when you see that. So you have to protect it. So we don't need the financials from the group. It's more of like just protecting your time and respecting where you deliver it. But then these guys that got skin in the game, every single one of them that got that call to be a part of the group had no problem with it, because they understand the value add. And more importantly, like when you got skin in the game, well, you better apply it. You better apply it and get after it and do it to the best of your ability and ask the right questions, or you're wasting your fucking money. Yep. So good, that currency that you're using, man. Like, it just, and I remember like when I went to see Ben, and now I'm a part of Ben's private speaking team. Him and I are doing an event here in Denver. So now I'm already capitalizing it. But yeah, man, coughing up money is a sign of, you're respecting someone's time that's giving it. But man, you're in this mindset of like, hey man, I'm here to play. I'm mentally prepared, because if I'm not applying everything that I'm learning to the best of my ability, I'm not going to find out whether it's going to work or not. And I'm just wasting money.
Right.
But the bottom line is, if you're okay and you're prepared to stretch a little bit and make that work, you're probably very respective to the people that you're giving that money to.
And the tasks that you need to complete and the mindset you need to be in to be there.
But these guest speakers are they're baller. They're super powerful dudes, man. Like they've contributed to us, and it's, I'm excited to give like my network that I've had for years to others. I'm excited to be that network for other people and pour into them. And then, man, just the whiskey and the food that we're doing every month for these dudes. Like, it's
cool,
man. Guys are already excited. We're doing our orientation on tomorrow.
Super cool. Yep.
Guys are just excited because it's like, hey, the food, and it's like, yeah, because here's the deal, man. You guys are paying. Hey, no shortcuts on my side. You think I'm gonna like cut you short and not have food for you?
Some Chick-fil-A.
Or if I did have food, you think I'm gonna order some fucking Chipotle or Qdoba?
Yeah. And here's the thing, it would still be okay. Even no food would be okay. However, over delivering.
Yeah, and
bringing value.
But I'm also bringing you my network.
Yep.
And I happen to have a very good friend of mine who cooks for Justin Bieber and Peyton Manning. He lives in Denver.
Yep.
And I spoke to him about what I wanted to do with this group. And he's so excited to do the food because every month it changes. So he's got a lot of freedom and creativity that he gets to explore. So like we're buying all of his pots and pans. I didn't tell you about that.
Yeah. Deal.
But because we have to store it here at the penthouse.
Yeah.
And we'll use it upstairs. But no stone unturned, man. Like, I want guys to come in here like, man, if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you play good. And if you're eating good food, like, I want you to have every sense that we have satiated to just be in the right mindset and in the right atmosphere to just be prepared to learn
and feel part of something, man. Like, being partners with you, I feel like I'm part of something, Yeah. Like, that's the shit that keeps me like showing up every fucking day.
100%.
Like, you're part of something.
Dude, me too. And you and I have gone to some men's group before. We've gone to different events and stuff before, and like, you see where they cut corners.
Oh yeah.
And again, you can. It's okay. Like, people are okay with it because they're just excited to be around you because you're the value.
Yeah.
But if you're the value, could you also do better to show how valuable you are? I think so. And I don't think you should cut corners when you don't have to. Just because you're a valuable dude and people want to spend time with you doesn't mean you don't have to show up.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just show up with your intellect. I mean show up with your resources and being prepared, because I want these guys to have every opportunity. I mean, this guy that they're going to meet just to cook alone, not cook, chef, right?
Yep.
Just a chef alone. Maybe like he'll go do birthdays for some of these people, or because everybody that I introduce people to are now, that's kind of like you.
They get busy.
You have access to them now. That's part of your network. So if you want to go to some of those guys' events, if you want to ask them for advice, if you want to have this chef come by and do an event for you and your business, like, you now have access to that. So like, it's just going that extra mile, man. I'm just trying to create an environment that's worth it. That's also sustainable. That keeps you coming, man.
Yeah.
It should be super fun.
Yeah.
And who doesn't like good manly food? I don't even know what manly food is. Like steak, potatoes, more than that. He's doing so much cool shit.
Yeah.
I told him that. I go, manly food. He's like, yeah. I go, yeah, like steak and potatoes. And he's like, oh, fuck, bro. Like, there's so much. He's like, there's so. And I'm like, Mike, that's why you're here, brother. That's why you're here. But man, that's gonna be fun, and cool. I think this, moving into 2022 and the end of this year, and just where we're capitalizing with our business, I think it's more so not focused on what people do with what we give them, just being focused at what we give them. We have integrity with what we give them, and we do it to the best of our ability, and we protect our time. So where we can give it, we give it, and where we can't, we can't.
Boundaries.
But wherever we are giving it, man, just, hey, once it's given, you got to let that go, and whatever people do with it is on them. But stop focusing on what they're doing with it, and then trying to give them even more. Yep. It's like, hey, dude, that well's broken. You can keep giving that all you want. They're not. If anything, they're just going to keep sucking you dry. Versus the people that do take it and run with it, pour into them. But you don't realize those things unless you do set boundaries. And so freeing up some of my time from where there was some dead space there, we're able to pour in more, like in a men's group like this. Now I've got more time back for myself. where, you know, we can head this off and do a great job with it and have a lot of pride behind what we're doing. And man, at some point, man, maybe these guys have their own men's group. And then, man, how cool is that just continues to spread through a closed network. You know, but super cool, man. I'm excited for all of it.
I'm really excited for that. There's a lot of shit I'm excited for right now.
Me too, man.
Definitely, like we said in the beginning, it's transitional time. We're putting a lot on the table. We're prioritizing. We're executing. And it's always exciting.
Prioritizing this, you know, like, sorry for the delay, guys. I know maybe not all you fake bot downloads, but all you real downloads. Super appreciate when we're on here. And we know that you guys know that we're still practitioners. We're in the game. We're grinding our business and raising our families, and we can't always get to the mic. But we do it to the best of our ability. Now that we're getting settled in, man, like, I think we're going to go.
Yeah, it'll be better.
Back to that once a week. You know, and people say, oh, you can't say you think. You just got to commit to that. Well, the podcast isn't our number one priority. There's things that we do in business that are our number one priority. So, unfortunately, if something has to kick the bucket because we've got a ton going on, we got $2-3 million buyers this week that are doing some things with inspections and we're getting ready for that listing. No, man, they just take priority. And if that takes time, hey, I got to get back to my family. And yeah, so, you know, unfortunately for listeners, it sometimes the podcast is not the most priority, but we do it to the best of our ability. But what I am saying is, hey, now that we're back, or now we're into our new location and we're getting settled with some other moving parts that are getting a little bit more established, we now have that time to reinvest into cranking these podcasts once a week, even if it's just for 30 minutes, just sitting down and cranking them and just having fun with
sharing some thoughts. Yeah,
100%.
I like it.
We back.
We're back.
Until next time,
Appreciate you guys listening. Yeah, we'll be back next week. Might be the same set, might be a different set, might be some different things with our
It'll
set.
be the penthouse. We'll fuck with it.
Yeah,
I'll have a good time with it. But this is pretty cool. And
we're getting settled
as the sun goes down, it already gets even better.
True.
And you guys like looking at that skyline, not me. So I'll start pulling these up for when the sun goes down. We can have fun with that.
There
with
we
that backdrop.
go. Well, appreciate you guys listening. Day $1
out.
I'ma slip it on down and turn it up. Southbound and we're trailblazing, yeah, but